Hey guys, and welcome into another video. Now today we're going to be doing something that I've been wanting to do for a while. I've been putting it off a little bit, and that's okay because we're finally here, my official big board. Now the link to this is always going to be in the description of every video I post. I constantly update this pretty much daily. I go in there, I check it, I move things around. So if you ever want to check on it or you want to compare mine to yours or anything like that, please feel free to go in that comment section below. Leave a like, comment down below, subscribe if you're new, turn those notifications on, and then go ahead and click this big board on the Draft Network. Obviously, you can see my top two guys here, and I'll get into it in a second. We're just going to go through the top 100. Obviously, I have a full 300, and admittedly, the top 3 pages are going to be 3 or 4 pages are going to be a lot more detail oriented than those last couple. I'm not changing those ones around too much because those late round guys, how much does it really need to be changed, but I do go through the rankings and such, and I make sure to check them, and it stays up to date, so you can always click on it and check on what I'm thinking each and every day pretty much. But I'm gonna go through a video right now. February 7th is the day. It's almost midnight, so technically kind of February 8th. This is my big board. Senior Bowl is done. I had a couple days to digest it, move things around. The first day after the Senior Bowl, moved some guys really high up, and then I've kind of settled them into a good spot where I think. So, like I said, leave a like, subscribe if you are new. Draft content, mock drafts, all coming to the channel, obviously. So be sure to keep looking out for that. And like I said, we're gonna go, 10 players at a time. We're gonna go to 100. So obviously, we'll talk about 10 groups at a time. I think that's the best way to do it. So we'll start off with that. So we'll reveal the top 10 here for me. And obviously, number 1, Kyle Hamilton. Now, again, big boards are a lot different. This is just basically best players, who I think are the most talented players, best players. And I'll get into that. It's kind of hard to differentiate who's the best player versus draft position sometimes. So it's not a perfect science. There's obviously different things. I look at the position rankings a lot and make sure I have them where I want them in their position rankings at the very least. And move people around as much as I can. So, yeah, number 1, Kyle Hamilton. I think he's the best player in this draft. Plain and simple. Safety isn't as needed as, edge rushers, tackles, quarterbacks, such. But I think Kyle Hamilton is the most talented player in this class. And, we can go ahead and click on it and talk. 6'4", 220. He is a absolute stud. And right here they say he might be the best NFL prospect I've studied since 2014. And I truly feel that as well. I mean, this is a guy who reminds me a lot of Jeremy Chin coming out, but he does everything right. If you want him to play in the box, he can. If you want him to cover, he can. Tackling, IQ, he's a leader. This is a guy who really is just scratching the surface, and it's so weird because I'm at that age where players coming in are younger than me. It says here he's drafted in 2001, and I was born in 2000, which it's weird, man. It's getting weird. But that's what happens. I've graduated college, and he's a junior in college, so it makes sense. I just think Kyle Hamilton's the best player in this class. Plain and simple. Whatever team gets him is going to be getting a superstar. I feel like as close. I feel like Kyle Hamilton is the only cannot miss prospect. The only thing that will ever derail his career is injuries, and I don't think I've never hoped for injuries for anybody. And I don't think that'll happen. I think this guy is a game changer. I think he is a leader, and I think some team is going to pay in the top 5 for a guy like Kyle Hamilton. I think there's no way he's going to fall just based off of purely talent. I think once he gets to talk to people in those meetings and really gets to show, obviously he's a junior, he was in the Senior Bowl. He'll really show those leadership qualities, and I think teams are going to fall in love with this guy. Number 2, Tyler Linderbaum. Yeah. I think he's, again, just one of those can't miss prospects. The problem is that obviously, even though he's number 2 on my big board, I don't see him going until the teens or the 20s in the draft, just because center is not that position that really gets taken. He can move to guard, and I think that that's possible. But it's a weird game with positional values and such, and whether you like them or not, there is positional value, and that's something you have to take into account. It's all part of the weird science of the draft. So yeah, even though Tyler Linderbaum I think is the second most talented player in this draft class, I don't see him going for a while. Number 3, Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. High floor, I think. Middle ceiling. If you told me in 5 years Aiden Hutchinson is a top 3 edge rusher in the game, I would be like, okay, I get that. If you told me in the same amount of time that he is a top 10 edge rusher, but he's consistent, I'd believe that as well. He's got a high motor. Again, he's dominant. He's, again, another guy that's a leader, really led this Michigan team. He's only a couple days younger than me. These guys are in way better positions than I am, obviously. But he's just big, man. He's a leader. Like I said, he's going to really add to a team and be a missing. I like his fit in Jacksonville for the fact that he can be opposite of Josh Allen. He doesn't have to be that main dude and be relied on as everything. But, yeah, the guy's a motor is insane. Fun to watch. Really took Michigan and brought them to where they were this year. He was a big piece of that. So, yeah, Aiden Hutchinson, again, not much to talk about. He's talented. You've heard it all before. Evan Neal at 4 with Ike Ekwonu right behind him. We'll talk about him in a second. Yeah, Evan Neal, 6'6", 360. This guy is very similar to Tristan Wirfs coming out. We've seen Tristan Wirfs is probably the best right tackle in football. He came out of IMG. He was a 5-star recruit. He's pretty much been a staple on that Alabama line for a couple years now. He's played pretty much every position on the line. He's able to do everything and anything. I think that there's getting a little bit of prospect fatigue with Evan Neal. There was that like a week or so ago where everyone was starting to put him at number 1. And now we're seeing a lot of Ike Ekwonu at 1, and we're kind of seeing Evan Neal fall to like 5, 6 even. Like it's a little bit of prospect fatigue, and it'll come back around once the draft starts to get closer. But Evan Neal is just absolutely talented. And a guy who's, arguably equally as talented is Ike Ekwonu, at NC State. Obviously, it's not Alabama, but the guy has just, again, played every position on the line and done amazing at each. He's tenacious. He's mean. He finishes his blocks, and I think that what he does is perfect. Now I'm not sure if they mention it here. They do. So his run blocking is bar none the best in this class. Truthfully, he is able to maul. I think if you want a more all-around guy, it's going to be Evan Neal. I think if you have a solid running back, which is why the Giants are interesting for Icky. This is a guy who's really going to be able to obviously be good in the pass game as well, but his staple is going to be dominating in the run, and that's why moving him to guard or keeping him at tackle, he's done it all, and he's done it all at a high level. So I think Ike Ekwonu is a beast. The camera's becoming an issue. One thing I love about my draft and corners especially, and if you've been a fan of the channel, you've noticed this, I really do like tall corners. I just think that those 3 inches really do help out a lot in certain situations. But when you got a guy who is not allowed a touchdown, 6'2", 188, and plays like he's a 5'9" corner. Really, I mean, the guy is just absolutely insane, and his tape backs it up consistently. He has consistently been that good. And that's why I have Sauce as a top 10 guy, and that's why I have him as high as I do. KAYVON THIBODEAUX is going to be number 7 here. Right now, it's really the ankle injury, and it's the questionability of, how much is he in the game? How much is his heart in it? How much of a leader can he be? Again, another guy who might be suffering from prospect fatigue, and that sucks. But this is a dude who was number 1 coming in. He's been number 1 for the past few years, and now he's starting to fall down boards. Like we said, the ankle, we want to see what that comes out medical-wise. And as the offseason comes through, if he grades well at the combine, if he, passes his physical, and teams are starting to say, like, this guy's a leader, like football is his life, he could be right up there with Kyle Hamilton at number 1 and be the number 1 pick in this draft. And it wouldn't surprise me. I think the thing that we want to get out of the way right now with the draft is people have this weird conception that this isn't a good draft class. And I think on the contrary, I think it's one of the better classes that we've seen in a while. I think that it's not as top heavy as other classes. Every class, we've had the Tuas and the Burrows, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Myles Garrett, Saquon Barkley. We've had these guys where it's like, oh, wow, This class, it's not that simple. The number 1 couldn't be Aiden Hutchinson. It could be Kyle Hamilton. It could be Ike Ekwonu. It could be Evan Neal. It could be KAYVON THIBODEAUX. It could be any of these dudes, and it would make sense, So, yeah, 1 through 10 might not be as strong as other 1 through 10s that we've seen recently. But 10 through 100 is a lot of talent, and they're good talent, man. It's hard to find a bad player in the top 100, truthfully. I look at every person in the top 100, and I can see them being a starter in their first season. That's how good this class, I believe, is. But, yeah, KAYVON THIBODEAUX, like I said, it's gonna come into how much he is in the game. We saw it. Like, he just didn't seem like he was in it as much this year. And he could shoot up the board, but 7's not even a bad spot for him. I think he's going to be a top 10 player no matter what. Derek Stingley, we all know that. I'm not going to talk about it any more than everyone else has. His freshman year was insane. He would be the number 1 player off the board if his freshman year was what he got every year, but he's been injured. He hasn't looked as consistent. Maybe it's just his comfortability with knowing he's a first-round talent. Who knows? But the dude's a monster, and I think that he will be a stud in the NFL. I'd be very surprised if Stingley doesn't become a top 10 corner in the NFL very quickly. NAKOBE Dean at number 9. I've been up and down with him and Devin Lloyd being my top linebacker, but I'm not worried about the size like I was earlier in the thing. I mean, he's proven it at Georgia, where Georgia, especially at the beginning of the year, it looked like no one's going to score on this team. He's able to do it all. He can drop back. He can hit the hole hard. He covers sideline to sideline. He's fast. That frame is a lot bigger than 6'2", 225 when you're playing against him, and that's what I really like about him. Where, yeah, he's undersized for a linebacker. You know, we see guys 6'5", 6'6", 260, like these monsters of linebackers. And is NAKOBE Dean that? No, but he plays like that. You know, he plays bigger than some of those big guys, and that's what I love about NAKOBE Dean. That's why he's as accolade. He has the accolades he does. He got Georgia the championship as a big part of that team, and that's why I think he's going to be a really high prospect in this draft, and I think he's a top 10 talent. And rounding out the top 10, new addition to the top 10, I kind of talked about it on Twitter a little bit. Malik Willis. I think this is a guy that people are trying to make the case that he's not as good as he can be. Everyone's like, oh, you know, if you take Malik Willis, he's not going to be good his rookie year. Oh, you know, if you take Malik Willis, you're basically giving up for this season, or all these things. And I just think it's some crap, man, honestly. I get the concerns, right? He played at Liberty. His tape is very wishy-washy. There's some games where he looks amazing. You see the arm talent. You see what he can do with his legs. You saw it at the Senior Bowl. He was a darling for practice, and I think he secured that QB1 spot through the Senior Bowl. It's his to lose at this point. Personally, I don't really have any quarterbacks too close to Malik. And truthfully, I don't see another quarterback in this class that's worth taking in the top 15, top 10, other than Malik Willis. And I think that he can be that Deshaun Watson type, that you know, that top 5, top 10 talent. You know, 6'1", 215, that's a good size for me, especially in the modern NFL. His ability to run, his arm talent, everything that people look at, the top guys now. You know, there's no more of the Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady types, you know. Out with the old and in with the Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert types. You know, those are the guys that are going to be legit. Of course, you have your Mac Jones, but do you want to draft a Mac Jones, or do you want to draft Deshaun Watson or a Mahomes or an Allen? You know, Mac Jones is going to be a good starter. I think a lot of these quarterbacks in this class can be good starters. I don't think any of them has the ceiling that Malik Willis has, because it's truthfully top 3 talent. And I really do like Malik Willis. I think that getting him on a team that is secure and only needs a quarterback, Carolina, you know, obviously they need some O-line help, but Carolina has some good weapons. C-Mac is going to help a lot for that. Houston, if Houston decides they want to go with Malik instead of Davis Mills, they're going to move Deshaun Watson. They have pieces to move. Brandon Cooks is there, a young tight end, and Brevin Jordan that I like. They're able to move pieces well, but they have a good offensive line, you know. You look at other teams, Denver has every piece except the quarterback. That's why we think Aaron Rodgers is going to go there. Washington has a good offensive line, a set thing. They're still a couple pieces away, but can use that money in free agency. There's a lot of teams where, you know, if Malik Willis goes to a team where there's nothing at all, not a good offensive line, not a good receiving core, like just absolute garbage. And really, I don't think there's a quarterback needy team that's like that. Yeah, maybe he's going to struggle, but anyone would struggle. We saw it with Zach Wilson this year. We saw it with Trevor Lawrence this year. But guess who we didn't see it with? Mac Jones. Why? Because they had a system in place. They had a great offensive line. They had a rotation of running backs. They had multiple receivers that can play. And he set him up for success, and he was playing in the Pro Bowl a couple days ago. So I think Malik Willis is truthfully a top talent in this draft class. If he falls out of the top 5, I'd be a little bit surprised. If he's not a top 10 player, if he's not taken in the top 10, if the team doesn't come and trade up for him in the top 10, I'll utterly be shocked. And I'll update this throughout the offseason. We'll see if my opinion changes. But as of right now, not even recency bias, because I have Malik as my top guy this whole offseason. Malik is that guy. So we'll go to the next 10 now. Obviously, this is going to be a longer video if you haven't noticed. So please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, if you're going to stay around. Maybe I only do the top 50 this draft, and then I do another video doing 50 to 100. Maybe we'll do that. Number 11, Jordan Davis. I've seen this guy fall out of first rounds, and I'm mind blown. Maybe, again, it's positional value. Jordan Davis is insane. 6'6", 340. We're going to act like that's not insane. We see what Vita Vea does for the Buccaneers. Now, my only concern about him, and it's not even a concern, I've talked about it in some class or in some drafts that I've done, is that he's not going to be able to be on the field for 100% of the plays every game. And that's okay. Like, I don't understand the idea that that's not okay. because the dude is big. His conditioning is not going to be great as other guys because of that. That's understandable. He's 6'6", 340. That's huge, you know? So his ability to just disrupt is astronomical. It's insanely good. There's, bar none, no better defensive lineman, nose tackle in this draft. And I don't know why we're trying to make it like it's an argument. There's guys that might be more versatile. You know, Trayvon Walker, Devonte Wyatt. We'll get into guys like that. Logan Hall. But this guy is a D tackle, a nose tackle, where you stamp him in that middle, and that middle is clogged. No one is coming in the A gap at all. that's closed down. So when you add him to teams that I know just off the top of my head that could use a D tackle, you add him to a team like the Chargers, who got Nwosu and why am I blanking right now? Bosa on the side. That's great, obviously. I'm not a fan of it, but if he falls all the way to Dallas, you know, you got DeMarcus Lawrence and maybe Randy Gregory still on the edge, Micah Parsons, and this guy in the middle. You know, a team that I like a lot is Denver. Denver has, you know, a lot of different things. I like Denver a lot, but Bradley Chubb coming off the edge. I mean, the possibilities are endless, truthfully. And I think that it's a forgotten art to have somebody plug the middle. Some of my favorite years of the Giants, the year that they went to the playoffs with Ben McAdoo. Damon Harrison, Snacks Harrison was a big part of that. Why? He just mauled the middle. He took the whole A gap away to where the guards in the center had to be focused on that, so where you had to bounce it to the outside. And so you were able to do a lot more with that defense, if that makes sense. I like Jordan Davis a lot. I think he's going to be a superstar in this draft. He's never going to be that guy that's going to get 15 sacks or anything like that, but you're going to feel his presence. Devin Lloyd, like I said, him and NAKOBE Dean are so close. He's been in college for a while, fifth-year junior. He's a redshirt senior now, obviously. And he's just, oh, man. Really, I can't say everything I said about NAKOBE Dean. Go back and replay that for Devin Lloyd because he's the same, man. He can hit the gap. He can cover really well, sideline to sideline. He does everything, truthfully. Yeah, you could put him inside, outside. I like Devin Lloyd a lot. I think he's very versatile. I don't really need to go into Devin Lloyd a lot because I think him and NAKOBE Dean are 1A, 1B at that position. You take either one of them first, I'm not going to be mad. Charles Cross going down to 13. He's been a top 10 guy for me for a while, but he really is mostly a pass blocker. Yeah, it says primary cut the block, primarily role is pass protect at left tackle. I think that is why I lowered him a little bit, but I think a team like the Giants that we've seen that need help in the pass game and pass protection will love a Charles Cross, you know, Carolina as well, because this is a guy who really will do it at a high level. Yeah, is he going to be the best in the run blocking? No, but he's going to work on it. He's going to be an NFL talent, obviously. I don't see a way that this guy isn't a top-tier lineman. You know, at the worst, he's going to be a good offensive lineman, and that's good enough for me because offensive linemen are hard to come by, especially in this league because of the talent at the edge position and the defense in general. These guys coming in are terrifying. Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeaux, Devin Lloyd, NAKOBE Dean, all these guys, terrifying. Jordan Davis. So it's a big task to be able to come in and stop these guys at such a young age, you know. So we've seen Tristan Wirfs come in and do it. We've seen Rashawn Slater do it. I think Charles Cross will do that at a high level as well. Next up, Trent McDuffie. Yeah, really like McDuffie. I think he can go to safety as much as he can do corner. 5'11", 195, and you wouldn't know that from how he plays. This guy is aggressive. He will disrupt the run game. He will make the tackles. He really can do it all. I like him a lot, inside, outside, whatever he needs. McDuffie, really, he's been a big riser. You know, early on in this draft process, you know, towards Christmas is when I start to really go into it. I didn't have McDuffie as a first-round talent, and he has just constantly risen up my board from outside of it to right inside to the 20s, now all the way up to top 15. I think McDuffie is that type of a guy where if Stingley and Sauce are off the board and you're a cornerback needed team, like let's say the Vikings, you know, if Stingley and Sauce are off the board by the Vikings pick, I think McDuffie is not a bad consolation prize at all. I think that's a very good opportunity for them. Yeah, Zion Johnson up at 15. Guy had an amazing Senior Bowl. He had probably one bad day in the Senior Bowl, and he stayed after practice, was working on center reps, was working with, you know, getting all the knowledge he could from the coaching staff, and that shows a lot. That means a lot, too. He was a guy who I already was, you know, tinkering with to kind of get him in the first round, and then what he did at the Senior Bowl with, you know, elite talent on the other sides, it impressed me a lot, and I like him a lot. Could he fall down? You know, yeah, I don't necessarily think it's too much of recency bias, but Yeah, man, this guy has been, Boston College is known for giving some NFL talent to the line, and he's the next dude, man. He really is. He is just, I don't even want to I don't want to ruin it for you guys and describe it. If you have not seen Zion Johnson, just go look up the Senior Bowl tape, and you'll just be in awe. You'll never have so much fun watching an offensive lineman go to work, because Zion Johnson did that. Really like Zion here. I think he's a first rounder, no doubt. Treylon Burks, first receiver off the board, and we're going to see a bunch of them coming up, as you can see. I just think he has the most upside. I think that he is the most all-around type of guy. 6'3", 225, can run the routes, can go deep, come down with the ball, can catch in traffic, can, like I said, run the routes. He pretty much can do everything. Honestly, after the catch, there's about 6 or 7 receivers, in my opinion, that are all first round grades, at least, if not more. But especially, I think that the top 5 receivers, you can put them in any single order, and no one should be arguing about it, genuinely. And we're gonna get into them. I'm not gonna name them all, but I like Treylon Burks the most. You can like somebody else the most, and I would not disagree. This is a really good receiver class because they're all good talent. Obviously, we have guys like Jackson Smith-Njigba coming out, and we have Keyshawn Boutte coming out next year and stuff. Like, those guys are like the Jamar Chase types. These guys don't have the name value as CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase and such like that, but they are all really good. And I think they have a lot of upside, and Treylon Burks, I think, leads that. Next guy is Kenyon Green, falling down on boards a little bit. Again, I think it's just a little bit of prospect fatigue, but the dude is a mauler. I mean, genuinely. And I think guard is just, again, it's the same thing as Tyler Linderbaum. It's just not thought of as much. But he's going to play that guard. I know people can say he can move out to tackle. I'm putting him in a guard. I'm not going to really use him at tackle unless I have to, or unless he really shows that he can do it. But I like him a lot, man. 5-star recruit coming out of high school, 6'4", 325, but moves well, powers through the run game. He really, I'm a big fan of Kenyon Green. If he goes top 10, I wouldn't bat an eye. I like Kenyon Green a lot. I know it's been a longer video, and I'm only not even out of 20, so we're going to start to speed it up a little bit. And I think we're just going to do the top 50, knowing how long this video already is. But Jameson Williams coming in at 18. This is a guy that should have been the number 1 pick, receiver-wise at least, without the injury. And I just don't think the injury is as important as we're trying to make it. ACLs suck. They genuinely do. And the recovery is a rough process. But we've seen it. Keenan Allen had some nasty injuries early on in his career, and he's been a top 10 receiver since. We've seen guys, Cam Akers come back from a torn Achilles a couple months later. Adrian Peterson tore his Achilles or his ACL, whatever it was, won MVP the next year. We've seen guys as modern medicine has moved on and on. The ACL is a horrible injury, and it sucks because it's most of the time that and the Achilles, they're non-contacts a lot of the times, and it sucks. And the recovery process is mentally tough. It is a hard process to get through. But with how modern medicine is and how the NFL is, you bounce back from them, and you pretty much get back to where you were, if not better. And I think that's what Jameson Williams can do. I really do see him as a top receiver in this class if the injury didn't happen. Because the injury happened, I'm putting him down a little bit, but not too far. If he's the first receiver taken on the board because the team loves him, I, again, wouldn't be shocked. This is a guy that is talented, and this is just proving. Like I said, top 10 may be a little shaky, and everyone has a little bit different opinion, but the top 100 is just talent. You can have it in any way, and I don't think many people would disagree. I didn't mean to scroll down, but I guess we'll scroll down. Drake London and Garrett Wilson are the next two. Drake London, again, I'm not going to keep going on about the receivers. Both of them, Drake London, 6'5", 210. He's a big receiver. He's going to go up and get the ball. He's going to beat you at every time in the deep ball, but can also run decent routes. He's a good athlete. Really good run after the catch as well. I like Drake London a lot. And Garrett Wilson, kind of a do-it-all, 6'1", 192. He really can do whatever. He run routes, run after catch, play in the slot, play in the outside. I like Garrett Wilson a lot. So that's the top 20. We're going to move down from that. Again, any receiver that you have as your top guy can be that top guy, genuinely. Travon Walker, starting off at 21. This is a guy that's another big guy, 6'5", 275. Obviously not as wide as Jordan Davis, but this Georgia D-line had some maulers. And we're going to get to their friend in a little bit too, but I love his versatility. He can play at defensive end. He can play at defensive tackle. He's not scheme dependent. You really can put him at any spot that you need him to. He's athletic. He really, there's an argument that he's the best lineman on Georgia's line, and it is an argument, man. people have been kind of iffy about where they want to put him. I think he's a top 20 talent. I'd be surprised if he gets out of the first round, especially, but let alone the top 20. He's just a talented guy, man. I think his versatility and his draft position is going to help that out a lot. Trevor Penning, another guy who had a pretty good Senior Bowl. Northern Iowa isn't the sexiest school when it comes to prospects, so that's why people are a little bit iffy about it, and they were interested to see what he can do in the Senior Bowl. And for the majority, he played very well, and he was a great talent to watch at the Senior Bowl. 6'7", 321. A team is going to fall in love with his size and his ability and make him a franchise tackle, and I think that he's going to do a really good job at it, truthfully. Jermaine Johnson, this is one of the best players in the Senior Bowl. We all know he did so well in the Senior Bowl that he didn't even come to the last day of practice because he was like, I've done everything I needed to show. He can rise up the board even higher, and he could be one of the better edge rushers, top 10 even. He showed that much when he was there. But yeah, he went to JUCO, he went to Georgia, and then he went to Florida State. I mean, this guy has been everywhere, and I think that's why his draft stock is kind of iffy, but he put it on display. This dude can play in every sense of the word coming off the edge. He's fast, he's strong, he's got pretty much the whole arsenal. I really like Jermaine Johnson a lot, and I don't see him falling down the board. I see him moving up. Kaiir Elam, only concern is injuries. Injury concerns, and they're real concerns. He has not played as much as you'd want him to, but I think that everything, and I know, like I said, I have the bias, taller corners, but 6'2", 193 is just physical at the line, will jam any receiver, is not scared of any receiver. He wants to tackle, he wants to play the ball, and I think that sometimes can, take him away from a play or maybe make him miss, but this is a dude that, truthfully, if he's healthy, he will be a number one corner for a team, and he's going to be very good at it because of how much he can do. I really like Elam a lot. I think that people are starting to let him slide a lot, and there's a lot of good corners in this class. I don't really blame anybody for it, but I like Kaiir as the third best or fourth best corner in this draft. David Ojabo out of Michigan, he's going to move up and down a lot this offseason, so be prepared. Just because he's so new to the game, he's only been playing for like 4 years, and that's football. He's only been playing football for 4 years. We see the talent, but it is so raw. So it is a risk to take him. I think that you need to take him into an established defense where he's going to be an additional piece where he can learn the position while also produce for you, because he has a nasty arsenal of moves, especially his spin move. He is able to get past people, and he's able to overpower, but a lot of times you see him look a little confused out there, not know the situations as well, and that can help out a lot if he goes to a team like Cleveland or I'm trying to think of other teams, the Saints, but they don't really need one. Like, if he's able to go to a team where they have an established pass rusher on the team already and a leader on the defense, the Chargers maybe, I think that Ojabo would be a monster. I really do. I think that his athletic profile is just too insane to not be happy about. Halfway through, Andrew Booth is now on here at 26. A lot of people have him a little bit higher. I'm not as high as other people, but again, like I said, there's so many corners are like the receivers. There's about 5 of them that could be in any shape or form of the rankings. I think it's a little bit more clear at corner because I think Stingley and Sauce are definitely those top 2. But yeah, he's just he's really good, man. Man coverage especially. His zone coverage has a little bit of work. Tackling could use a little bit of work. Consistency, kind of like Elam. That's why they're so close. Bernhard Raimann is the next guy. Central Michigan, we all know the stories if you're following the draft. Former tight end, moved to tackle, added a lot of weight. Now he's 305, 6'7". The dude he's also from Austria. The guy is just a physical specimen, and he had a good Senior Bowl, and I think a team in the late first round is going to really like him and believe in him, especially if they're a team that has some established players on that line. Look at the Cincinnati Bengals. He can come in and play right tackle. Jonah Williams, a top pick, can help him out. Maybe if they keep a guy like Quentin Spain or such, they're able to do a lot. But I like Bernhard Raimann a lot as well. Again, a lot of these prospects are just so good. KARLAFTIS, all the way down here at 28, and I know some people have him as a top 10 talent. I just, I don't know. There's something about him that I'm not as high on it. He gives me KAYVON Chason vibes, and I don't know what that necessarily means. But I wasn't high on Chason, but I thought everyone had him as a first round talent. I kind of got to have him there. KARLAFTIS, I think, is going to be good, and I think that he's not necessarily going to have that ceiling, but he's strong and he can rush the pass. So I understand the appeal. I think that I like the upside of some other guys a little bit more. But I don't see a way Karlaftis falls out of the first round. But I do expect him to drop a little bit in the draft. I don't think he's going to be that top 10 talent unless a team really loves him, or unless he really shows me in the rest of this offseason, this combine and draft process, that he is worth that top pick. But personally, I just like some other guys a lot more than him. But, you know, he's still in the top 50. It's not like he's a bad player. That's not at all what we're saying here. So, coming out of Purdue, 6'4", 275, strong. I mean, this guy is going to do a lot. Chris Olave at Ohio State, another guy where it's just he's able to do it all, man. Routes really is his strong suit. He's going to break you down on routes. And I see a lot of upside with Olave, you know, that kind of Justin Jefferson type where people kind of dropped him down because he didn't do anything super spectacular. But then when you realize it on the field, it's like, oh, he's just good at it. That's why. It's because he does something that you can't put into words. You know, I was recently watching the I Am Athlete podcast where Olave was on there with, I believe, David Bell and Zamir White, I think were the other guys. And Ocho Cinco and Marshall were talking about what made Darrelle Revis good. And they couldn't even put it into words. What it was that he was just good. He understood things. He knew what to do. And that's what I really love about Olave. He's clean. He's able to make the plays. And he's just consistently good. I really like Olave a lot. Now, he's going to be a guy that moves up. He's not going to stay this low on my rankings. Christian Harris at 30. A lot of people don't have Harris as high as I do. I'm a big fan of Christian Harris, and I really do think he's going to be well, because I think that he's going to just be one of the better coverage linebackers in the game. He's going to be able to follow any tight end or running back. He's going to be able to use that frame of his, that tackling, the speed that he has, to be able to cover anybody. And I really like that a lot in my linebackers, especially in today's day and age of 3-4s, where your interior linebackers are really used more for coverage, and then you have those edge rushers and the D linemen. I really do like what Christian Harris has to offer and, you know, playing as much as he has at Alabama, started since his freshman year. I mean, this guy has all the talent in the world, obviously, to start at a program like Alabama for that long. And it even says here, I mean, this is a guy who has been a punt returner, he's been a tight end, he's been a corner, so he's just an athlete, man. I really like Christian Harris. I think that he's going to start to rise up boards once more people start to look at him a little bit more. Starting off 30 to 40, Arnold Ebiketie, I think is how you say the name, out of Penn State. Dude, Penn State, we know what Penn State rusher is balling in the NFL right now in his rookie year, and I'm not going to compare them at all, but Penn State, they're doing something right with their edge rushers and their linebacking core. And I think Ebiketie's that next dude, 6'4", 250. I was a big fan of Gross Matos coming out as well. Yeah, just speed, twitch, bend, strength. I mean, this is a guy who really can get through, I think, at any spot. He can be on the edge. He can rush the pass. But I think that he can really become a just good all-around defensive end edge rusher as well. I really like Ebiketie. They got to get a picture of him up here. He deserves it. And he's a top 40 prospect at number 31. Devonte Wyatt, the third Georgia lineman we're talking about. We're only at 32. Dude's a monster. It's very comparable. 4-year contributor. Had a breakout year this year, 6'3", 315. He's more or less the all-around defensive tackle, whereas Davis is really going to plug that middle. Wyatt doesn't have to necessarily line up over the tackle. He can line up over the guards. He can move around. He's more versatile. He's more mobile. He's more agile. But again, these guys are insane. A lot. Once again, anyone in this top 50 can be moved at any spot, and I would not bat an eye because it's a talented draft class, truthfully. Trey McBride at 33. He was known as the best tight end coming into this Senior Bowl, went to the Senior Bowl, proved it, had a touchdown. I mean, the guy looked every bit of the word, as best tight end. He looked that part. And, Colorado State obviously is not as big as these, Alabama, Georgia, Penn State, Washington, all these teams we're seeing on the screen. But, man, Trey McBride, you cannot deny talent. He's not going to be as sought after as a T.J. Hawkinson or a Kyle Pitts, obviously, but this guy's going to produce, and he's going to play very well at that tight end position for a team any team that needs it. I could see him sneaking into the first round to those teams that could use a tight end. Tanyan's a free agent for the Packers. Schultz is a free agent for the Cowboys. Gronk's probably retiring, and O.J. Howard's a free agent for the Buccaneers. I mean, there's a lot of teams in that those 20s to 30s that are in need of a tight end. I know that Jets fans want him to fall to that second round, but I don't know, man. He might, if he keeps looking as good as he has, he might solidify himself as a first-round talent. Logan Hall, a guy I'm huge on. I love Logan Hall because he's so versatile. I think he can be a nose tackle, a defensive end, an edge rusher. I think he can play any of those positions at the NFL, and as long as you tell him, this is your position, this is what we're going to train you as in the NFL, I think he'll excel at it. 6'6", 275, athletic, strong, just imposing, just looking. He just looks bigger and is scary to look at, honestly. If I'm an offensive lineman and I see Logan Hall against me, I know my work cut out for me, He really is. He's just technically sound. He's aware. He is smart. I like Logan Hall a lot coming into this class. And again, I think you have to solidify his position. A problem that we saw early with Isaiah Simmons is, we were like, oh, is he a safety? Is he a linebacker? Is he an edge rusher? What do we put Isaiah Simmons as? He's so talented, though. And he came into the league, and Arizona didn't really know what to do with him. They had him run some safety, some outside linebacker, inside linebacker. They played Jordan Hicks over him. It was very confusing. I think you got to give these guys a solid position. And Logan Hall, if you tell him, hey, you're our defensive end, go with the defensive ends. I think he'll excel at it. I think he'll be a very good player for a very long time. I like Logan Hall a lot out of Houston. Perrion Winfrey, MVP of the Senior Bowl. Everyone just saw on full display how big this kid's motor is, how much he cares about the game. The coaches were raving about how much of a leader he is. And again, just his love for the game. I think that he can play pretty much anywhere on that defensive line, but really that defensive tackle spot's where he's going to shine. But he made a name for himself at the Senior Bowl, and I see him going up even higher than where I have him at 35. Another guy who made his name at the Senior Bowl, Boye Mafe, looked like the best edge rusher in college football when he went to the Senior Bowl. Absolutely insane. I don't know, man. He just was explosive. That's the best way I could put it. Explosive at the Senior Bowl. 6'4", 265. Roger McCreary here, another guy. Corners are just plentiful in this draft. So if you need a corner, don't worry. There's going to be one for you. Maybe you have to trade down to get the right value for it, but he's great. He's not as physical as some of the other guys, but he is great at what he does. He's able to cover, and that's what corners are there for, and that's why I don't have him as top as the other guy, because the other guys can cover and tackle a lot better. But this guy's going to lock down your best receiver. I really do think so. McCreary's a good spot to be at here. 38, our first safety coming off the board, JAQUAN BRISKER. He's my number one safety. Hasn't changed. Can it? Yeah, it can definitely change. But JAQUAN BRISKER's been my top safety, and I just like him a lot. I think he play free or strong. I think he's pretty much anywhere. He's not my number one safety. He's Kyle Hamilton. He's number one. He's in a class of his own. He's the number one safety since Kyle Hamilton, obviously. Yeah, we've seen all the flashes we need to Brisker. I really do like him a lot. I compare him a lot to an Xavier McKinney coming out of Alabama. He fell out of the first round, which is okay. I could see him as a late first rounder, but he can play free or strong, and I think that once he finds that and gets that playing time, he's going to play well, and we're seeing that with Xavier McKinney now. Kyler Gordon, another Washington corner. Him and McDuffie have been really good, and he's the bigger corner. That's going to be more the outside corner. I've seen him go as high as top 15, and I think he's as good. He's pretty much – he does what Trent McDuffie can do, not necessarily to the same extent, in my opinion, but he does everything that he can do, and he's a little bit different of a size. Yeah, he's a good corner. What can I say, man? These guys are talented. That's really what we're learning about this draft class. There's a lot of talent. Matt Corral at number 40. Next quarterback coming up the board from Malik Willis. So it's a big drop, 30 drop. Ironically, the reason I have Corral as my quarterback too is because he didn't do anything this past week to worsen himself, because he wasn't at the Senior Bowl. He's a junior. People are worried about him doing RPOs a lot, and I get it. He's a thinner frame, 205, but he's mobile. He's got a good arm. He's got good placement on that arm, and I think that a team could use that and pretty much plug him in right away and allow him to control an offense. I think that he'll be decent at it. I'm not necessarily super high on him. If you told me at the a year or two from now that there's only one quarterback in this class that ended up staying as a starting caliber NFL player, and it's Malik Willis, I'd be like, yeah, I totally get that. But Matt Corral is the next quarterback coming off the board. There's a lot of these guys. These guys are all kind of grouped up together. The rest of the next five, pretty much, mostly the next 3 or 4. But yeah, it's a tough one. It's more or less the other guys have stuff about them that move them down for me, whereas Matt Corral hasn't had anything to move him down for me. So he's just here. Yeah. I don't really see them as top talents in this class. That's the thing. It's these other guys have top tier talent. All these players. The quarterback class isn't top tier talent. They're still good, but they're not top tier talent. So we'll go to the next 10. Daxton Hill starting us off here, and another guy who really, I think he can play free safety or strong safety, but he can play in the slot. This guy is able to. His ball skills are bar none probably the best in this class, other than Kyle Hamilton at the safety position. This guy is able to pretty much find the ball at any spot, and that's what you want. His instincts as a safety. We've seen it a lot, especially in that Bills game, where the crazy Bills Chiefs game. A lot of times defenders get caught not being aware, not being letting the play get behind them. Daxton Hill's not going to let that play get behind him. So I like the safety class a lot. Other than Kyle Hamilton, there's not that Derwin James type in that first round, but I think a lot of these second round guys are going to make an impact right away. Going over to Nicholas, I always get this wrong. Petit Frere, I want to say I might be wrong. He's going to be most likely a tackle in the NFL, can be a guard, but he came into Ohio State as a top recruit, continued to play at that level, and now is going to be a fringe first rounder in the draft. He's going to be a good player for these teams that might need to spend their draft capital elsewhere, but still need help on the offensive line. You look at a team like Jacksonville where, if they go with Aiden Hutchinson, I think that we could see this being the first pick of the second round. The Jets, if they go defense in that first round, they need offensive line help. Another guy that can go. I think he's going to go top 40 in this draft just because of that positional need. There's a lot of good offensive linemen, though. It's a deep class for a lot of positions where I think a lot of these positions, they don't have much separation between their top 5, top 10 guys at that position. So it's very interesting to see how this draft is going to go. But next is another lineman out of UCLA, Sean Ryan. I'm a big fan of Sean Ryan. 6'5", 318. I like him more as a guard. He can play tackle, but I like him more as a guard. And I think he's going to be a very good guard at that. But this is another guy where early in the second round, I think is where he'll go. To a team that maybe doesn't have a set position for him. The Jets, they're not sold on Mekhi Becton, right? So if they took a guy like Ryan, maybe with 38 instead of 34 or whatever it may be, maybe he does become that left tackle prospect, or maybe they move him into guard. The Lions could use some guard play. It's not a need, but it definitely could be better and make the line elite. Sewell, Decker, Ragnow, such. So I think getting a guy like Sean Ryan would help a lot as well. So this is a very interesting class with offensive linemen. I think that it's very deep. It's very deep. First running back coming off the board here at 44, Isaiah Spiller. He's my top running back. He plays big. He's strong, but he hits the hole hard, and that's what I really like. Yes, he has the big playability. Breece Hall is a guy who, I had a conversation about this today. Breece Hall is a guy who's going to bounce it to the outside most of the time. He's not really going to hit the hole as much, but when he has that big playability, it's really good. And we see that a lot with running backs, and it's kind of that threshold where you don't know what to do. Saquon Barkley was elite. Obviously, he was a top 2 player. But in the NFL, he struggles to just hit the hole. A lot of times he likes to try and bounce to the outside and make that big play. So when, at the end of the game, maybe Saquon Barkley has 23 carries for 105 yards and two TDs, you realize that you take away that 160-yard rush he had, and the line doesn't look so good. And that's the kind of guys that I see in this draft class more. But with Spiller, I really do think his vision, his instincts, the way he believes in his line and allows them to create those holes and where he's going to hit the hole hard, I like that a lot, man. I like that running style. And when you're able to be smart and instinctual with that, north and south type of energy, I think that is the making of a top running back. I really do. I like Isaiah Spiller a lot. I don't think there's going to be a guy that takes over at the number 1 spot. I think he might be running away with the number 1 spot for me personally, but it's a long class. Louis CINE is going to be the next guy, safety. This guy is a head hunter. And we all know some clips that may have knocked out individuals. He's a hard hitter. If you need a strong safety that's going to hit, this is a guy. He can go first round because of that. Teams that need that hard-hitting safety, that physicality on the defense, CINE is going to be your guy. I think a lot to the Cowboys, how they've always had those hard-hitting safeties that maybe aren't the best, but they will lay down the boom. That's Lewis here from Georgia. Georgia's just that physical defense, man. The fact that we've seen so many players out of Georgia already off this board is just, that's why they're national champions, man. They're so good. Going into the next player, and it's 2 quarterbacks back-to-back, Desmond Ridder. I have him slightly ahead of Kenny Pickett because he looked really good and really poised in the Senior Bowl. He just made all the right throws. He made all the right reads. I think he's rising up boards. I really do. I think that I'd rather have, if I had to take a quarterback and it's either Desmond Ridder or Kenny Pickett, and they're like, this is your quarterback for 5 years, I think I'm going to take Desmond Ridder. I think the outcome will be a lot better. And we'll talk about Kenny Pickett in a couple seconds. But, he's just good, man. We've seen this, if someone asks, what's Joe Burrow good at, right? And I'm not comparing Desmond Ridder to Joe Burrow. Don't get that. It's a very soft comparison. you really can't say. That's sometimes okay. Joe Burrow, does he have the strongest arm in the NFL? No. Is he the most mobile quarterback in the NFL? No. Is he the most accurate quarterback in the NFL? No, not all the time. But what's he good at? Everything. I don't know. He's just good. He has IQ. He's smart. He's able to read coverages. He's able to extend. I see Desmond Ridder as that type of guy where, Mac Jones, he's not going to necessarily wow you with how far he can throw the ball, or, oh my God, he escaped that tackle. Like, Desmond Ridder is just solid, and I think that's okay. I think that teams can use that. We've seen guys, Andy Dalton, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Tannehill, these guys that maybe aren't great at a lot of things, but have long careers because they're good, and they can get their team to the playoffs, and they can win some games. Kenny Pickett has all the talent in the world. It says here, he's very accomplished. He has a lot of experience at Pitt. The hand size is an issue. He's in the 0th percentile, which basically means that there's never been a quarterback with as small hands as he has been graded, which is why he wears the gloves. And the gods have blessed us with rain on one of the Senior Bowl days, and the throws started to look a little bit shakier and not as poised. So it really might be an issue, and I don't know how that's going to be, but he's very mobile. We saw the fake slide. He's fun to watch. We've seen guys like Teddy Bridgewater come into the league with the gloves and have success. So I think there's a lot. I think it's probably a very low floor and a pretty decently high ceiling for Kenny Pickett. He can go in the first round. He can fall into the second. There's a lot of differences here. Personally, for me, I'd rather Ridder than Pickett at this moment in time, but that can change as well. DeMar Leal, a guy who's been dropping on boards, not necessarily because of anything, again, he's doing wrong, because we haven't seen him play since, Texas A&M played. But it's just there's so many defensive line talent. There's so much of it, and we've seen these guys at the Senior Bowl, and such. So he's as good as all these other guys. I just have him a little bit lower, and that's really all it is. He's another good defensive tackle, interior defensive lineman. Myjai Sanders is at 49 here, 6'5", 255. Him and Agbury, I've gone back and forth with moving them in and out, but I really like Sanders. He's an athletic guy. He's quick. He's agile. He can bend. I like Sanders a lot. The second round is where you're going to see a lot of good edge rushers. We saw it last year with Ojulari coming out, in the second round and falling out a little bit. And it's not necessarily anything for them. It's just how talented this draft class is. Again, a lot of these guys are going to be rising up. But if Sanders went in the first round, again, wouldn't be surprised. If he falls into the second and the team has a mounting success with Sanders, I'd see that as well. And rounding out my top 50, where we're going to stop it, is Phidarian Mathis, defensive tackle out of Alabama. Dude is just a mauler. I think that he suffers from Alabama because Alabama is so good at what they do that they are cycling in talent, especially, Alabama's known for being big and tough. Derrick Henry, Bo Scarborough, Mark Ingram, Phidarian Mathis, all these dudes that come out of Alabama are strong. They're tough. Jonathan Allen. I mean, these guys are big. So, yeah, this is a big guy. Obviously, he, like I said, it says here, he's been part of a deep rotation among the Alabama offensive line or defensive line. I think if he was a staple every down guy at Alabama, I think that he would be a first-round talent, and we'd be talking about who you taking first, Phidarian Mathis or Jordan Davis or, one of those. I think that he is that good. But for what he was able to do, 7 sacks, 9 tackles, 40 tackles, he's versatile. Everything that they're saying here is completely correct. I think he can pretty much do it all. I compare him a lot to like a Christian Wilkins. He just didn't get the reps. That's really all it is. He just didn't get the reps, and I think that he's going to grade well, and I think he might even move up this board. So we're only going to do top 50 because we're already almost 50 minutes into this video, which isn't bad. A minute on a prospect, on average is not bad. But if you stuck with me, let me know what you were doing while listening to this video. Were you eating? Were you, a lot of times I'll put on these type of videos while I'm playing Madden, so that way I can, play my game, but also hear football takes and such like that, and also just deepen my knowledge as well. So again, thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Let me know which one of my top 50 prospects is your favorite. Again, if you guys ever want to follow along and not necessarily watch a video, that's okay. Let me know in the comment section below, or look down in the description below. It's gonna be the top link on there to go ahead and click on the big board, and you'll see it every time it updates. It'll update for you. So you can always go ahead and check that out. But again, if you guys did enjoy this video, I really do appreciate it. If you would leave a like, it helps me out a ton. Share with your friends, subscribe if you are new, and if you didn't, it's okay. Just refresh that page and let me know what you think about it when you watch it the second time. But that's going to be it for me, guys. look out for picks 51 through 100 coming to you soon. And there's going to be a couple more videos. We're going to be following draft content a lot. So, again, appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.